I'm just going to leave. We talked about the treaties. I'm going to be leaving it for Bill when he gets here. He's a professional on the treaties. However, we understand the treaties very well. My name is Dale Gray. I'm a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and a grandmother to many other children because they also help at the schools. I have a lot of extended families. Like I said, being a product of different areas, it's not easy. So my mother was in the residential school on the Gordon First Nation. That's where I'm from. And she lost her mother when she was 8 years old. So with that, there was 4 of them. Of course, we had to go to boarding school in Gordon First Nation. Then when their school burned, they had to go to Manitoba, which was a reform school. They were treated very poorly. And so they had the parenting issues right from day one. The parenting issues were rough. So that kind of led on to the rest of us. It wasn't an easy life we had. But when I was listening to the Susan this morning, there was a lot of memories in that area that kind of came through while I was sitting there listening. We had not a very easy life, and it really bothers me when we were put in this little area, this little based area. I always call it a box that we were put in, and had to survive there. Which is okay, you know, at least we had some place to go and 4 walls. So we went to Montana, never really lived a good life either. So, and after that, when my mother went into the hospital for 13 years, into sanatorium, she had TB, so they said. Then I was born, and then I had to go into different kind of homes in different places. I was kept all over this. I was abused in all different areas, mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually. So that was hard, and I wanted to hate. I wanted to hate everybody that was involved in part of it. But that was, that went on, and my life, I didn't have a very good life either because I destroyed myself, and I made some very bad choices in life. It wasn't good, the choices that I had made. And I always think back, and being on the streets there, I always thought back to this one person who was in Calgary. And this one person said, you know what, this is not the life for you, you're a beautiful young lady. And I said, oh yeah. So they took me to this Christian home, and I was looking around, and I thought, holy cow, boy, I can sell a lot of stuff in here, so they got some good stuff here that I can rob them and go and sell. I didn't do that. I went back to school. But in the meantime, I still made some bad choices. I was still living my drinking and drugging, whatever. I still made bad choices. I had a child very young at age. I also had a baby when I was 16. And figuring that, I needed that. I just wanted somebody to love, but I still didn't know how to parent, so it didn't matter. My mother said still had to look after me. And it wasn't easy. It was a rough life that we had. As you turn around and you look at the residential school, there was a lot of effects. And with that, we had a lot of oppressed people. And our oppressing people, we learned how to do it very well. We learned how to do that oppressing with one another. So I done the same thing. I done it to people. I done it to family members. It wasn't good. And with that, I thought, okay, I have other things to do in life other than what I'm doing. And I used to watch people all the time, and I had a thing of protecting people because I felt I wasn't protected. So I was going into this, I wanted to protect somebody, anybody that was hurt, or anybody that was homeless, or anybody that got beat up. I wanted to go after them. I just wanted to protect them. And I thought to myself, well, how can I protect them? So in 1993, I was still drinking. But I had some pretty good friends that said, you know what, you should run for council, Bill, because you're not afraid to speak. Well, you got to know more than just speaking, right? It's okay. I said, sure, why not? So I got in, and I was there for what? I think it was 14 years. But still, I was, you know, I still wanted to fight for the people, but didn't really know the system, government system. But I knew what they knew to us. So I used to always hate this Indian affairs. I used to, Indian affairs, because they always go with this contribution agreement that you have to live on. So you have to bring that money in, and this is the amount of money. So with that, they caused a lot of problems with animosity, you know, amongst our people. Because on reserve, you have to have that amount of money to live on, and then we had a lot of urban people. Our First Nation people were living off these. So that caused a lot of problems, right? So it just goes on and on and on and on. So you look at the history of all these history, it goes back to a lot of this. You know, and don't get me wrong, we have some extremely smart people from our First Nation people. We have university, we have people that have graduated, we have people that are lawyers, we have all kind of people out there that are beautiful, and we have one standing back there.
Bishop.
The bishop. So I can't swear, remember? He's going to go like this to me. He's running away. He said, no, Dale. So we've had all kinds, and I have these two that's a lawyer. You know, yeah, they're wonderful lawyers. We have Don, we have excellent people. So they're doing an uprise, right? We have a lot of people that are coming up. They're doing an uprise. So we talk about history, and I was listening to Susan when she was talking about history of the Jewish people, you know. They had a lot of hurts, a lot of damage done to them. So we also fit into there because we had people that come here that used to live here in teepees and tents. So what happened to our history? Where is it? They were the first ones here. They've done that. So that's why they call this lake the Healing Lake. And my grandparents, my great-grandfather talked about this to Grandpa, to my bushel. So we got a lot of history in there. And he talked about this healing water. They'd come here and they'd heal. And there's more to it than just what we're saying. Some things we have to keep, you know, to ourselves. So, yeah. With that, I thought, oh gosh, you know what? The Creator kept me here for something, and I'm not quite sure what it was. And then I start thinking, okay, there's a lot of people that are getting ill. And then I was thinking, well, okay, so what do we do about this? Then I'm thinking, when Susan was talking, I'm thinking, okay, how do we get through to people to understand where we come from or who we are as First Nation people? Because everybody in the history have read the books that they own, the scalpers or whatever, the Cowboys and Indian book. They only read those, that's all they know us as. They didn't know us as these compassion. We have a lot of compassion, we have a lot of caring. There was reasons why you can walk down the street and see people laying on the street. You go to Vancouver, you see all kind of people. You don't just, on Hastings, you don't just see people that are First Nation people. I know that doctor that ended up there. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do to help? How can I help? So when then this HIV come, and you see, you always read that the numbers are very high in our First Nation with HIV, AIDS, and Hep C. Okay, now what do we do? Do you ever see our First Nation men going out to pick up these girls? You know that some of them are pimps. Do you ever see some of the men from the reserve are going out there with their $255 to go out and pay for sex? They can barely pay their bills out of $255 a month. So we go out on the street and we're watching. Some of the Johns were older people, older men, and non-native. So we started on a thing like this. We were going to start reporting them because this was really on a rise. So that's where I started. And then now I'm an advocate for HIV, AIDS, Hep C. And now I'm also an advocate to help the people. I'll help the younger generation that are on crystal meth, which is a huge, huge thing. Crystal meth is just terrible. And it's all over. It's not only in our community, but that's generations of things that have happened because of our parenting skills. We don't have the parenting skills, so now we have to learn that all over again, right? So this goes back to all these things, you know? These poor little kids. You know, this is where was my mother? My mother was in here. And this is the one that burned. So they built a new one. They built a new one in 1929. That's where I was. This is the one she did. 8 years ago when they built a new one. But, so we have to go back to parenting now. The parenting skills were not easy. And we're still having that trouble at the schools with our younger generation. Kids are having kids. Was that only now? No, that was me. I was a kid when I had a kid. But you know what? The Creator kept me here for a reason. Kept me here long enough to know that, you know what, I have something to do. I have to keep going because there's reasons that the Creator kept me here. And every day I thank God that I'm here. It was not easy. It was a rough life. Like I said this morning, I lived that life of every kind of life you could possibly live. Being where I should have been, I made very bad choices. With my kids now, thank God I had a mother that looked after them too. They've gone to school, they're graduated. I have a young great-grandson that's going to play ball in the States 2 weeks from now. He was scouted in January. So, you know, somewhere the cycle has to be broken. And we're not asking for pity. We're just asking to work together, to come together as a whole and connect one another. Not to label us or for us to label you. We're not asking for that. We're not asking for that. I think that each and every one that can come up here and talk would say, I don't want to be codependent anymore. That's what that's all about. I look at them out there and I think, it's not easy because you go to 9 hours on a reserve. Even if theirs will become a home. And right now, they're probably, I think you only get one, right? On a reserve for how many people that live in our community? 1,100? And our total population is 32,000. So, you know, so in the meantime, we're promised all these things on housing, education, health is another one. We're losing our health is huge. When you go off the reserve, we're paid for meds now that we shouldn't have. So there's a lot of things that those promises were broken. You know, so if we're promised those things, but today we don't live that.
Nope.
And I'm not codependent. I go out and I do have what I have to do. But there's people out there that have never done. And will continue there. There's people out there that have that are on the street. And being in residential school, imagine getting dragged out of your home by the police. I think that's wrong. You know, they wouldn't do that today. They wouldn't. That's a totally different time. That's a very different time. And it's not easy to see the things that are going on. You know, all I'm asking too is sometimes, sure, it's easier to give somebody money than sit and talk with them. But don't judge them when you see somebody on the street. You don't know their history. You don't know what's happened to them. You don't know where they come from. You don't even know the background of some of the stuff that happened. Like I said, you get these books, you know. I was in the States, I was the only Indian child in the school there. And good thing I was the only girl in with the boys because I knew how to fight back. You know, many of the boys cried, didn't it? But they're, not because I was, you know, that's for something. But anyway, yeah, so you read all these books of cowboys and Indians. So history, like if you don't know it, you know. Remember that little girl yesterday? She comes from one of our reserves, she put her little hand up. And she said, is this true? She said that a chief gets land. And that's one of the teachers teaching this child. From our community. They said, no, they don't. They don't get land. How can they get land when everybody knows it? You know, when the veterans come back, they were given land on a reserve that they already had. That was given to us. So, you know, Indian Affairs, what did they do? They gave them land. So there again, causing problems. You know, so it just went on and on and on like that. So of course they're going to oppress you. Well, you know what? I made sure that I did the same too. But they've given us some pretty bad stuff here. And you know what? What I'm telling you, it's time that we'll come back. We tell the kids, you know, don't fight in a good way, in a respectful way. And that respectful way is giving them education, get back to school, get back to university, and do all the things that have to be done. But there's still people out there that can't do that, and never will. So I don't think that they should be put down. No. And I'm not going to stand up here and blame because we're part of it. We and each one of us in our own communities, we're still labeled people. We'll call them down, talk them. But this morning I said, when I started speaking, I had to clean out my own closet. So I started with my doorstep. Boy, that was dirty. And then I started with the closet. I said, oh my God, I have to pray. That was scary, but I done it. So you know what? Our boss is here now. So I have to be quiet and really have a little while. He's standing here. I'm not sure where he was, so I'm just kidding. Thank you. I'll let you go now. Thank you very much.
Okay. You're done, sister?
Yes, I am.
I'm Stuart Zarnos from George Bird, First Nation Elder. Today I want to talk about what was passed down to me. One time I didn't know what it meant. There was 9 brothers of us, 2 sisters. And my mom and dad used to drink quite heavily, and I had an uncle called John Bitternose. And when they used to have a party with whatever they were drinking, I used to hear them say, "Take care of that boy. Someday that's the guy we're going to have to use. We're going to have to use him for a lot of special reasons." And I was thinking, well, what are you talking about? You know, out of the blue, what are you talking about? What am I missing out here? I was still school age yet. But this thing I'm talking about was passed down from my dad to me. Now what that meant, what I was supposed to do, in the meantime, I'm growing up trying to figure out what am I supposed to do? What did my dad mean? As years went by, lost my dad at a young age. I was 20. Lost my mom. I didn't even get to grow up yet. So in that time, I had to bury my dad. First of all, I helped, I was this young guy. I helped bury him. knowing these things. Because he told me, if I'm not around, what are you guys gonna do? What are you gonna learn? Listen when I talk to you. Someday I'm not gonna be around. You guys take over that. You know that thinking, me not thinking what he meant. With all the hard luck we had. You know? And all those years that went by, swimming here. Lost my dad first, my sister, my mom. All three. And I helped bury all of them. I helped bury all of them. Today I stand alone. I buried my whole family. That's what I was told to do. I figured it out. What they meant. A lot of years ahead of that in my life. We're still growing up. You know, if you have that feeling, after you're all gone, I'm standing here alone now. I'm the only one left of that person. And it's a long, hard way to learn and experience. From my dad was an elder, my uncle was an elder. To hear them people talk what was going to happen in years to come. I never thought that. How did they know what was going to happen way back then? And I learned to figure it out. What they meant. What they passed down to me. Is what I got yet. He gave me the courage to learn all our Indian songs. We sang for a creator, we sang for power, we sang for a lot of reasons out there. We drove horses and wagons, the big plows. I had a saddle horse, I used to follow my dad and team of horses on saddle. We traveled like that for years, going around singing with a bunch of groups. There was 9 brothers of us. We all sang together as brothers. The better part of it, when we lost our lead singer, his name was Adam Durden. That's when we hung up our drum. We hung it up. We were not going to sing no more because we lost everybody. We lost Dad, lost all my brothers. Just hung the drum up and put it away. I do sing. I got a little drum like that. I still sing yet. Back home, in my car and traveling, all these songs I know. Company, yes. I'm singing. I'm still doing that. And I don't want to talk about the residential school because I didn't get an education going to that school. 6 years at residential school, 3 years at boarding school, 3 years at this school. Okay? At that time in that school, I was 6 years old when I first went to school. See this farm instructor and the policeman went to that. My gun went to school. If I didn't go to school, my dad and my mom would have to go to jail if I did not go to attend school. That's the way it was way back then. A lot of children was picked up from the police to go to school. All into that residential school. And we didn't get to come home to residence or anything like that. So I think stayed there from September we started, June we were released. Stayed there just about a year, 10 months a year. We couldn't come home. We weren't allowed to go home, we had to stay in school. But a lot of that went on and I just didn't like that no more. The way we were getting abused in that school, some mistreatments, cutting their hair, doing everything to you because we spoke their language. It happened to me when my brother stood up. I was 6 years old. I didn't like that too much, but there was nothing I could do. We were punished seriously. By the month we stayed in that dormitory in that school. If we didn't listen, there's all sorts of ways they punished us. I figured by the time I knew how to work a little bit with livestock and stuff like that, that's when I ran away. I did not do that. I ran away 3 times. Each time they caught me, but the 4th time, no, they didn't catch me. Because I didn't go home. I went to work for a farmer. It's harvest time, they were thrashing a team of horses in a rack and all that, and I was just young guy. Didn't know how to do it. Well, I knew a little bit, but the guy I worked for was fortunate, taught me how to work, taught me how to drive tractors, taught me how to fix things, everything on the farm. That's where I started. On my own. I was happy because I made $1 a day and $30 a month going to work. That time it was a lot of money. Way back then. It was a lot of money that time. And my dad found out where I was around Christmas time. Guess what? I had $254 saved up. He told my boss, asked my boss that he could take that money. It was mine, I worked for it, but my boss figured that he was doing right by giving him my wages. He didn't tell me, he said, when I was ready to go home for Christmas. Curious that I gave her dad my wages. Well, then I can't go home, and I gotta work another. How long to make that money up? I said, and I just laughed at it. I was hurt, but it was a good deed, I guess. After him doing that, he brought me up, I thought for it. He brought me up, he raised me. Then what he quoted me, and I did what I could for him. So I didn't have no hard feelings. I just took it from day at a time. Worked with it, dealt with it. But when he left, I found out there was no need to be mad at it. Because he made a man out of me. He made me where I am today. I'm still standing here. And I only wish I could say, hello Dad, how are you? I would never be it. Because he's gone to a better place than me. But I don't want to take too much time here. I don't want to talk about too much of other things. But I want to talk about what happened when we used to have a treaty card. Before we got a treaty card. I made my way down to Portland, Oregon, Washington, all over down there. Before I crossed the line, I had to sign a visa stating how long I was going to be there. Signed for 6 months, 3 months, whatever. And then as soon as that ran out, I'd have to come back to British Columbia border there, BC border. Get done with it, else I can go back to work. And one time when they come out of these treaty cards now, with your name and whatever you come from, wherever. That's one of us, across King's Gate there. They asked me for IDs, and I said, you got a treaty card, you're lucky. Look. He said, you can go anywhere now and work, you don't need a visa. Use that card. And the only thing I felt proud of was that old card. Got me the visa, but it doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that to me, it's just a treaty card. And you get the idea. You know that, and then I think pass this thing over the building, but the treaty right there. He's my boss, so I'll take over.
Before I introduce the next speaker, I just want to inform these people I've been here 72 years on this great planet. I got 78 years
residential school. I was there, 3 years, I guess. I was grade 3 when I left. I used to go to play hockey in Brett for a while. Wasn't that good. And a lot of, I used to go hunting. Used to snare rabbits. One time, my wife here took me out. We hunt a rabbit. I shot a rabbit. I didn't know it went between the ears. And it fell. I went to turn around, pick it up. He got up and he started walking. I grabbed a stone and I threw it. I know. That was quite a hunter, I guess, but anyway. She's my better half, and she could be my worst half too. We got along pretty good together. Quite a few years we've been together now. About 48 years, I think. But anyway, that's all I can do. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Talk about trees. I kind of want to touch on a few items before I turn it over to the next speaker. Trees is something that we signed in September in 1874, and certain items are provided to us, and free right to education, exemption from taxation, shelter, social assistance. Some of those rights now are universal rights enjoyed by everybody in Canada. Some of them have eroded. We're paying taxes now. We have to pay for some of our education now. So those kind of things, I think, is reality. We want to inform people of what the reality is, that they have returned the rights. You see this big $1 billion given to First Nations here. See that $4.5 billion given to First Nations. Let me tell you, 7 cents on a dollar is reached the First Nation, because the other 93% is spent on the minister's salaries, their offices, their travel, their pension plan. So all that money, before it reaches us, it only gets to what, 7 cents on the dollar. It isn't really big. So it's something the public sort of knows, because it just splashed across the pages. It's oh, these are First Nation and get a lot of money. No, it's not necessarily true. We just get a portion. So, and that's from transfer payments that given to us from the federal government. And there's also inherent rights that we generally talk about. Something that you're born with. Everybody's born with. The right to language, the right to shelter, the right to basic language, the freedom of charter rights, those kind of items you've been born with, and some of them have been taken away from us. They were beat in residence school. The language, we couldn't speak our language. We couldn't do things we wanted to do. The current system is there. The copy of it. The caste system, you couldn't be preserved as you like. Those things, you couldn't hire a lawyer. You couldn't vote. You couldn't go to the bars. Those are basic rights everybody enjoyed. We weren't supposed to go to war, but on a per capita basis, I think First Nations in both world wars was the most people I went to World War. And the interesting thing, I want to pass a message on to the people here. I asked a few veterans, why did they go to war? It wasn't for the money that enticed them, or any kind of pension benefit that they're going to get, or any kind of benefit. They went to war to protect Canada. That's the very number one reason they went to war, is to protect Canada and its people. And that's the response the First Nations citizens went to war. They volunteered. They didn't have to go to war, but they volunteered to protect Mother Earth here in Canada. I just kind of want to relay that information. We talked to a lot of elders, and it's a reconciliation project that we're involved with. I was moved by a young lady that came from Humboldt, and her son was got killed in a bus crash, and she was looking at something. She's a school teacher, and she's very impressed with what happened there with the school children, and she wants to do the same thing up in Humboldt. So, and we volunteered to give her a hand, the people that's involved with the development. So it's a good thing that happened. I was moved by her testimony there. But those are the very elements that we have to work together on reconciliation. The more we do things, the more apt we're able to get along better together. And we're doing also our history in terms of book. So I have a friend of mine from First Nation University. I almost said University of Regina. First Nation University. I want to kind of provide a little synopsis of what we're doing in terms of the book, which we're going to launch on May 17th of this month. So Andy, you want to come in and do a little...
Golly.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Bill. Good afternoon, everyone. I guess since 2017 or so, I met Bill in 2016 at an elders gathering, and he was talking about the work he'd been doing, collecting the place names, all of the names of locations around the Posaganachik ski, the Touchwood Hills. All of the names are being forgotten. The Cree and the Soto names, many of them are passing from memory because of the residential schools prevented young people from learning their own language. Those names became less meaningful. And as you mentioned, the pass system sort of removed people from being able to satisfy their treaty promises of being able to hunt and fish wherever they chose. So, long story short, is I immediately was drawn to working on this project with Bill. I asked him, how can I help you? And we wrote a letter of support that for a grant that he sought from Heritage Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Heritage Canada. I wanted to be a part of that. And as we went on, we saw that we actually had a book. It's a short one. It's I think presently it's around 70 pages, something like that. But it identifies and describes on the order of 30 different locations around the province. Manitou Sakahikan is among them. Asanikapit, Kitcha Asanikapit, Awasis, I can't recall. Where the big stone sits, if you know of this. Mistasanikapit, where the big stone sits, just at the other end of your lake. This was a part of the sort of the annual tract of migration of people coming in season to this. This was known as a good place for Saskatoon berries. And while people were collecting their summer berries, they'd also enjoy the healing waters in the lake. It was well known for that. People came from all over the province for that, not just Touchwood Hills. But then they would move on to another place, Katakwemina Koskak. Just rolls off the tongue. And that was a place where they would hunt ducks and gather chokecherries. The name means many chokecherry bushes. So the whole project, it begins to open up a different reality that's pretty exciting. To see beyond the fence posts and the grid roads and the phone lines to a place where people moved over the course of the year to take advantage of seasonally abundant food, to take take advantage of prayer sites, and then the winter shelter of the Posagana-Chikaski, the Touchwood Hills. That's a very different life. That's a very different world than the one we presently inhabit, but it's still, you know, it's still an important, a fascinating part of our life here. You know, if we become aware of it. So it's been an honor for me, a great pleasure to work with Bill and these other elders on this book. And yeah, as Bill mentioned, we'll be receiving 1,000 copies from Saskatchewan Indigenous Cultural Centre as part of the grant. They're printing the book, and come May 17th, we'll have them for sale. So yeah, it's called. What's it called? Posagana-Chikaski is the name of Niniwak. Posagana-Chikaski Niniwak? Niniwak. Nitaskinan, which is the land of Touchwood Hills people. Okay, so the Posagana-Chikaski is the Touchwood Hills, and Niniwak is the people of the Touchwood Hills. Nitaskinan is their land. So it's the land of the Touchwood Hills people. Okay? And that goes from, you know, the Cypress Hills all the way up to Hudson Bay, the town of Saskatchewan, Hudson Bay, and through this region. Yeah.
Before settlement, it was called Saganachik. When settlement happened, they were seen to Touchwood Hills. Now the government is willing, after the publication of the book, to change it back or to treat the Saganachik what it was called previously, so which would be nice. And there's a story behind what it's called. It's in the book, so I don't want to tell you the story. I'll let you read the book.
Well, I don't know. They're Bill's books, so we'll see where they go. We'll see where they go. You know, and this is the first round. You know, we think there's a demand for them from the local school division. They'd like to teach the local history. You know, it's amazing the information that's in there. I mean, my work is at the university, First Nations University. I almost followed you. First Nations University, and we've received some support to transform these stories into curriculum. You know, following the provincial curriculum in history, in social work, in Native studies, in ecology. You know, there are lessons involved in all of these elders' stories because they really do have such a wealth of information. I see many of you who are probably also great wealths of information, judging from the white hair that I see out there. You've probably lived great full lives and but these elders have a life, you know, the life experience that they have is a unique sort of Cree and Soto view of the world and of life. And we feel like that is really underrepresented in our schools, certainly in communities like Punachai, Raymore, where there are so many First Nations students. They should be offered the opportunity to receive coursework in the classroom from their own people. So it's kind of an exciting, you know, piece of work that we've done, and we hope that it will be available to the larger public. But you know, we'll have to find out. We'll have to see what we can do with the book. Yeah.
So thank you very much, sir. I want to close with one of our presentations from one of our employees from the agency. So I'll call upon Val Wolf to do a presentation on our justice program. So.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Valerie Wolf from Muskogee First Nation. I work as the Community Development Justice Officer at the Tribal Council. First of all, I am of Soto heritage. I'm unique because my mother was from Fishing Lake, which is in Soto Nation, and Muskogee, my father, is Soto Nation as well. And I am one of the few that come from Soto, and then Soto. Yeah. And it's usually Cree or Lakota, something mixed. But I'm still from both Soto. Yeah. And my husband is Soto, so our children are Soto, full Soto too. Yeah. And I'm like I said, a grandmother. I have 3 grandchildren. I raised my oldest. My son was 16, and his girlfriend was 15, and they were just babies. So I got a baby. I did. Yeah. And he's 12 years old now. He's a big boy. And then I have 2 other in Cold Lake, and I'm a mother of a 31-year-old daughter and 28-year-old son. And I really love my children, very proud of them. I've always been in the human service field, and I just recently, I took 2 years off to look after my dad. They retired to Nipawin, and he got cancer. So I went to look after him, and it wasn't very long, my mother followed, and I buried her just a couple weeks ago. But I understand the circle of life, and you know, she wanted to go with my dad. And they're meant to be together, they always were. And so I didn't mean to talk about that. Holy cow! Come on. It's healing though. I think it's healing for me to be able to say it out loud. Yeah. And so I was doing all that, and before I took time off to look after my dad, I was working with our Child and Family Services in our area, the Touchwood area, and it services other areas in the Qu'Appelle Valley. And that's very hard work. We were transitioning into a prevention model, like preventing the children from going into care. And I believe that's still the model they're taking. But I left that, and I went to look after my dad. And for 2 years I was gone, and when he passed, I said, okay, I'm gonna go back to work. I moved back home. I live in the community in Muskogee, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't care for children the way that I did the same. You know, my mind was still the same, but all the work that goes into keeping children out of care and trying to help families better themselves so that children aren't removed is very hard work. And I just didn't have the heart in me. So I left it. I said, no, I can't come back. I just don't have the same feeling. So I did a little short course, and I thought, oh, this is going to be easy peasy. I'll do this till I retire. It was maternal child health, which is not so easy either. Colleen does that. But I was doing that. Then the role of the justice officer came up at the tribal council, and I applied. Never had anything to do with justice before, but I did hit a lot of the criteria that was required, and I got the job. And so I'm still learning. This was just last fall. I'm still learning, but I totally embrace it. And now I'm trained with the Ministry of Justice of Canada and the province. So I'm really getting the full benefit of what I do. And some of the things that we do at our office is we service the three courthouses, which is Punashai, Wadena, and Wynyard. And we're just not limited to offer our services to First Nations people. I work with anybody whose file comes on my desk. It doesn't care what color you are, as long as your crime doesn't is lesser than the crimes that are, warrant jail or a criminal code offense. Basically. So some of them that I deal with are criminal code. They mostly all are, but they're not more on the serious level. Like I deal with mischiefs and things that can be hashed out in a safe environment through mediation. That's what I do, and I work with the adult part of it. I have a coworker, Jeanette Anderson, and she works with the youth, everyone under the age of 18. And so I work with a huge range of people, and it's almost like social work because we have to get to the root of the problem, and we have to figure out how everyone's going to be happy, everyone that's on the table. And it's enjoyable. I meet a lot of people. I was just in Foam Lake, and I go to every one of the First Nations in our area and sit and visit, find out what's going on. But, excuse me. But that's kind of my story and what we offer in our Justice Department. Another thing that we do is we reintegrate people when they're coming out of prison. We reintegrate them into the communities. And that's just finding the supports and giving all the information that we can, and also getting the support of the elders to help them to reintegrate them into the community. So we all work together, and justice is just one part of our tribal council. Like, we offer health services, we do, like, I can't even off the top of my head, I'm just trying to look at some of the girls, like education, post-secondary education, youth services. We just have a huge range of everything that we offer at our office. And just trying to help our people as well. We're all on board with Bill in the reconciliation movement that's going on. We're all asked to give our time, our Saturdays and our evenings, and whatever we can do as employees of the Tribal Council to help with helping people understand where we're coming from. I'm a third-generation survivor of residential school. My grandmother went, my dad's mother, my mother's parents went, my parents went, and I myself went. My children did not. My grandchildren did not. Yeah, so we are winning. Yeah. And that's my story. Yeah. And so, anybody have any questions? We're always open to answer whatever anyone needs. See you later. Yeah, Bill will answer all the questions.
We want to thank you. I think we have, I think that's the end of our presentation. We finished on time.
You're good?
I know Gary is doing this. Okay, thank you.